Liuche, Scipio, Nevsky, John, Zhuge and Hermann. If there is anything most Rise of Kingdoms players can agree, it's that these commanders are way better than the rest. And if you are using 3 or more field marches, they are the commanders that you need to have in your arsenal. But to max all 6 of them, you will need around 4,140 sculptures, which is an insane amount, and 99% of us won't have that many sculptures once we reach KVK 3 where all commanders are available. So the question is, what should be the investment order between these 6 commanders? I am, by the way, excluding siege commanders as I have no field experience with a range march, but as we discussed before on the channel, Margaret and Cordoba looks extremely solid as well. However, since the playstyle is completely different than these 3 marches, they will not be included in the list. To make an objective investment order between these commanders that applies for every single player out there is literally impossible because there are too many variables. So first we will discuss those variables and then I will give you a general order that you can follow. Variable number 1. Do you already have a decent pre-KVK3 commander that can be instantly paired with one of these 6? If so, that will clearly be your first investment. Because for someone who already has, let's say, a max Alex, Liuche will be the perfect first investment because they work really well together, while for another player who has YSG max instead of Alex, investing on Zhuge Liang makes more sense. Variable number 2 is of course your equipment. Because, let's be honest, without at least decent equipment, none of those commanders will give you great reports, and in that case, if you already have an equipment set for a certain troop type, and if that equipment set is way better than the rest, of course the commander from that troop type should be your first priority. So these are the 2 major factors that makes the investment order more subjective, and now we will discuss those pairings one by one from an objective perspective. In my opinion, for someone who just entered KVK 3, the best investment will be Scipio and Liuche. This march provides everything. Double AoE, debuff, some tankiness, march speed, like literally everything. On top of that, both commanders do work well with low investment, so you can get both of them to like 5-5-1-1 and start using them and slowly make your way through their expertise. Another reason why this is the priority march in my opinion is because how good infantry in general in KVK 1 and 2. Infantry has Richard, a great early game commander. They have the best goal key commander, Charles Motel. To some people it's Mehmet, but Charles overall is a great commander. Infantry also has 2 of the best epics, Sun Tzu and Björn. The reason why this is important is because this means that you most likely used an infantry march in KVK 1 and 2, thus you should have a decent equipment set already. So you can simply put that set on your Scipio Liuche march and start field fighting immediately. Last but certainly not the least is that this pair is the best to split up out of 3. If you have the other 2 commanders already, which are Guan Yu and Alexander, you can simply split your Scipio and Liuche into Guan Scipio and Liuche Alex and have 2 extremely strong field pairings. So all in all, they will be my number 1 pick to invest once all commanders are available for you. Then we have Nevsky John. Even though they are an older pairing, they are still extremely good, and there are a couple of reasons for that. Number 1, they are simply faster than the other 2 options, and movement speed is crucial in field fighting to get kills, and also to be able to run away in bad situations. Reason number 2, Nevsky himself is just an amazing commander. Simple as that. Even though he doesn't have AoE damage, his single target and debuff in my opinion really strong. Joan of Arc on the other hand works exceptionally well with low investment, unless you are very unlucky, because you can get your Joan to 5-5-1-5 and you can simply forget about her until you maxed all of the commanders. And that's, by the way, you should, in my opinion, save every single skill reset that you get pre-KVK 3 for that project. Reason number 4, if you already have a max Minamoto, you can pair him with Nevsky and simply use him as a placeholder until you can get your Joan of Arc to 5-5-1-5. Yes, that pairing doesn't have AoE damage, but the single target they provide is just so high, it kinda makes up for it, and Mina I think has one of the best relic buffs in the game, so he's definitely at least usable. And of course, if you indeed have a Mina, this means, just like we discussed in the infantry section, you should already have a cavalry equipment set ready, which is super important, and the final reason is going to be a little bit weird, but it is the civilization. There is one civ in Rise of Kingdoms which is way better than the rest for the majority of players, and by that I mean free-to-plays and low spenders, and that of course is Germany. It gives AP recovery and training speed, so there is a high chance that your civilization is already Germany, and that of course is a cavalry civilization. So investing on Nevsky John lets you get the max value from Germany because of the cav attack bonus and the special units Teutonic Knights. Now this leaves us with one final pairing, and it is Zhuge Liang with Hermann Prime. The damage this March can dish out, the AoE debuff on Hermann, circular damage on Zhuge Liang, it's just crazy. However, they are slower, they are squishier, and they have an invisible magnet that literally pulls enemy marches towards you. This March unfortunately gets targeted instantly. And I think these two commanders work less good with low investment compared to other two options. However, if you have the sculptures to expertise both of them, and you don't care about your hospital bills, all you need is more damage, so you don't look at severely wounded ratio, only focus on how many severely wounded your enemy takes, then I would actually prioritize Zhuge Liang and Hermann over Nevsky John. And even if you don't prioritize this much, I think when you have access to Zhuge Liang, I highly advise you to get him to 5111 or 5511, depending on your sculpture flexibility, just so that you can chain barbarians with him. So if we ignore the personal variables that changes from player to player, I think for someone who just entered the KVK 3 where all commanders are available, Scipio Luce would be my first choice, then Nevsky John if you prioritize safety and better save-wounded ratio, or Zhuge Liang and Hermann if your goal is to deal maximum damage. Let me know if you have any alternative investment paths for these pairings. Maybe you believe that maxing Zial and Hermann first is the better option. Just tell us what you think. Thank you, and I see you on the next one.